Smart 24, driving business.
Thank you. Once again, you're welcome. We promised you that we are going to have a very good talk show, and it's not just either to speak this and that. We are here with great people in this country. We have been joined by Dr. Lawrence Muganga and the Vice Chancellor of Victoria University. We'll also be looking at the in-depth of what we are talking about, the call for quality and competence-based education system, which we still believe can be a drive of our Uganda's economic transformation. I'll not take time to go into the discussion the way I'll be coming in somehow to give where a direction of where our discussion should go. Doctor, you're welcome. The viewers have been waiting for you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
And to viewers, good morning, depending on where you are. If you are wherever it is, good afternoon. It's good afternoon to you. But bottom line, I wish you great health and prosperity. So again, my name is Dr. Lawrence Muganga, and I am the Vice Chancellor of Victoria University. To Ugandans that are mourning the giant that fell, we grieve with you. We keep praying for the family of the late speaker, that God grants you the strength to go through this or these dark days, but we will be great. We have a God that comforts us, keeps us, and we are with you in this painful period, and as we pray that Heavenly Father grants him eternal life. So thank you. I am so happy to be part of these amazing people to articulate important issues that drive our economy and us, the people, to become better, productive, and good people of this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll proceed from that, but I would like to take this opportunity once again to introduce our topic of discussion, and we stated it, we once again say it, is the call for quality and competence-based education system, real, to drive Uganda's economic transformation. Just for one statement, as I welcome the guests, Ugandans all over, those who are within and abroad, some have gone abroad even to acquire, to try to fit in what they could call quality education. And it remains a paradox whether such an aspiration is still either promising them to achieve what they intend to achieve. Leaving that aside, as a country, we have seen a lot happening since our time of independence, but we'll be looking from time to time, borrowing events from time to time. What has happened? We had an appropriate education, maybe at that start. The other time I got the good information that we still had maybe a small population, and maybe a lot indeed has changed. By that time we didn't have ICT, yeah, which we didn't of the then, we didn't of the then time. Maybe those who went for education were able not to get that opportunity. But that's why we began to say there's BC, before computer, then after. Again, we also would like to let the viewers know that when we talk about education, education is not only when we go to school. Education is a wider perspective. Is known in a wider perspective. There is education which is specifically for economics and education. I have ever taught that, economics and education. There is also civil education, teaching how people should behave, and they know these are the norms. And we respect that, Prof. and dear guest, very much. So we look at education at a wider perspective, but now our context is the quality and competence-based education system. The quality and the competence. We have seen some of our parents, fellow countrymen and women, especially because of privatization, paying a lot of money to private schools in order to get quality education. One remains the question: that the call we are talking about is involving even our very nationals attempting to think that when they do that, they will achieve the quality. There also an attempt that by the government saying, no, let's not only look at quality, but there's also competence. Can we be able to get those who go through the education system of Uganda who are competent enough to create for themselves job and have a well-built capacity development? Dear guests, you're welcome. Mr. Paul, I take the pleasure to welcome you into that analysis.
Thank you so much. You know, when you talk about education, like we said, that apart from saying the backbone of Uganda is actual agriculture, I think we need to look at how the place of education in Uganda. We need to fix it. We need to see at which level is it, at which level can it actually cause economic transformation. Of course, not education alone can actually transform the country, not education alone. We need other factors, of course. But of course, to me, I think if we improve the quality of education, if we can actually give our all in the education system, I am just very sure that we can actually, to a large extent, achieve the transformation that actually Uganda is yearning for. The other time I gave you a scenario where, first of all, before I go into this, Ugandans need to understand what we mean by competency-based education. Competence-based education is where we assess a candidate or a student based on their skills. We are looking at skills, basically. So there are two things in this topic today. We have the issue of quality and then competencies. Now, Ugandans, of course, their interest is the quality. They are interested so much in the quality of education, and you've seen people are ready to sell land, people are ready to do everything to make sure that they achieve quality education. Now, about competence is a question of policy. It's a question of what? It's a question of policy. How do we get the necessary competencies? Oftentimes, when adverts are made, and I have seen, I don't know whether it's just a culture, when people are writing their good CVs, they include their competencies. This is my area of competence. But now, when you examine the competences of these people, their skills, because people should not view skills in terms of only tailoring, carpentry. We are saying if you did a diploma or a certificate in project planning, can you really develop a good proposal, a concept note? Or it only ends in the CV? Do you have those skills, for example, generating a good concept note? Can you do, even me writing a CV, if you're a good HR expert, can you generate a good CV? We are talking about that skill. If you're a good teacher, can you really talk about your teaching? How are your teaching skills? Can you really teach? Because the skill, we are talking about now, the communication skills, do you have them? Can you really teach and somebody understand in class? Or you're a kind of a doctor who will get in class and everybody will be bored, will even wish to move out of the what? Of the lecture room or classroom. Because these are the skills we're talking about. Can really this transform the economy? I am saying yes. Because we agreed the other time that education is the bedrock of every country. If you don't invest in education, it means that you are doomed. We cannot achieve anything in case we don't do a massive investment in education. So first of all, like I was saying, that the analysis is actually right. The education system, like you said, is kind of backward. How we actually said, it's kind of colonial. Times have changed. We've talked about revolutions. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. So in the fourth industrial revolution, can the other skills that we used to have, can they really be implemented? Can they be used now to achieve what we want in terms of development? Because now the country is developing at a different level. The speed is quite high. So we're asking ourselves, using what we have been into, the credit system, the credit, we call it credit units, credit units assessment. You know, it is no longer it's no longer important that you go into class and just sit there, they award you marks, but when you don't have any skills that you actually get out of, with. I have already said that most students, in most cases, they go through the universities, they go through the teaching institutions, but the teaching institutions don't go through them. I don't know whether you understand my point. That most of them will say, I have gone through Victoria University, I've gone through Makerere, I've gone through UCU, I have attained a bachelor's in law, yes, I have myself a master's in economic policy management, which is okay. How about it? What can you do with it? Do you have any skills out of that? So we need to interrogate now whether if we improve this, because now the call is actually real. I am even saying they would have made the call even the other day. Because now we actually behind. We are lagging behind as a country.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
While we are talking about the quality, we are very much aware that the education system in Uganda, it drives us in various stages. The primary education, the secondary education, and the institutional learning education. And we are mindful, according to our topic of discussion, that the primary education from time to time has left some unanswered questions, especially in the area of quality. The primary education of the then time and the current education, the primary education of today, compared to those who take to their children to universal primary education, and those who take their children to most of the private-based, either primary schools or secondary schools. And there is a gap, which I think that question it looks to be unresolved. What is your take on that as we build on our assessment of looking where we are going?
Yeah, I think next time you need to call us here and we just do an assessment of the primary UPE, Universal Primary Education. Well, you know, it's a wider topic with a lot of challenges, with a lot of successes. I think next time we need to have time and talk about it. But for a fact, you know, this UPE thing, like I told you the other time, it's a good idea that was rashly implemented. I have told you oftentimes that most projects are actually, most programs are good when you look at them on paper, but when it comes to implementation, they're having issues. For example, I have already said that they may get phase 3 of they may begin from phase 3 of the project instead of beginning from phase 1 of the project. For example, you may ask yourself, why are we having poor performance in most of the public schools compared to the private secondary schools? Not going into the quality, because for you, you're talking about the quality. Because we are asking ourselves, can this kind of assessment that we are having now, that looks at the marks, somebody reading, memorizing Napoleon, I think you're getting the whole thing, memorizing Lupiria and Rabong, can it really change and transform this country? Because that is what we are trying to actually to assess. Now we are saying we should have an education system that looks at the skills, that involves the skills of this person, right from primary. If it is art of public speaking, this should be the concern. If you are having a skill, say, in football, we develop that also. We look at what you can actually, the talent also that you can actually do. If it's a question of looking at you as somebody who is a scientist, the school should be in position to look at you and develop your science skills and maybe have in future as a doctor. Because this is what primary education should be doing. Do you have the art right? Can you really speak? Can you really read? Unfortunately, most of the schools, the kids get out of primary when they can barely read. They can barely read, they can't write. If you look at the writing, you can even say, hey, what is actually happening? They can't read. You look at a kid who is in P7, can't actually read a sentence. You know, this is where we are. Yes. So we say now this goes back to the quality. There are some other structure issues. For example, the training, the nature of training that we give to our trainers, so the teachers. So we need to do an overhaul. For example, we go there in the training schools. We see whether the training that we're giving our teachers is actually comprehensive enough. Is it true that we are actually attracting the quality teachers, for example, people who go into training for teaching? Because, you know, for me, this is my issue. That we've left most of the quality people who should be in the education system, they are being spoiled elsewhere. Most of the people have, for example, joined politics, not because they wish. They think that politics is more lucrative. That once you become a member of parliament, you earn enough. You become a chairman 5. I mean, this is where people are now. They are looking at politics, for example, as a source of employment compared to other. So we are having many wasted brains in other things. If you actually harness these brains and get them into the education system, they'll be doing very good work. But we are asking ourselves, how do we get there? How do we make sure that people go into the teaching profession? The brains, the top brains. how comes in this country that somebody who, the top performers don't want to join the education system? The top of the best of the best. It is very hard to say somebody who was the top student is yearning to be a teacher. Yet in other countries they are. Is it true that our systems are set to the extent that they are making it a muscle almost for everybody to say, I want to join, I am proud to join the education system, like somebody would say, I am proud to join medicine. Because if you ask most of these students in these top schools, they will tell you, I would wish to be a doctor. Few of them don't even talk about teaching. Actually, teaching becomes like number 3, number 4. And you know, it is, for me, I think it is deliberate by this government. Because if they want it to become number 1, it can. There is a time when social work and social administration was one of the top courses in Uganda here. Everybody would say, I'm going to do swaswa. You know, it was everywhere, even those who could not even pronounce it. They would tell you, I want to go and do what? Because it was deliberate. We're asking ourselves, how do we make sure that we attract the best of the best? Tindie was joining education system. The top quality. You say now, I want my kid to be a teacher. Why aren't people proud of being teachers? Because people are fearing you cannot become a teacher and you have nowhere to sleep. You can't even pay fees for your kid. So you cannot even eat at school.
Those are the challenges.
I think you are getting the whole thing.
Yes, yes.
So you look at the structural challenges, evolving. These are challenges. So we are asking ourselves, how do we get there? Shall we really have competence? Who is going to develop these competences in these kids? Who is going to do it?
You are going to put on a comma on that for a short while. We'll be coming back to you, Mr. Paul, but your contribution and so far, your input and assessment is quite indeed of a standard to drive us to where we ought to be. Dr. Muganga Lawrence, I was screening through part of my literature here, and it reviews their steps to develop a competence-based curriculum. And one of it is development or identification of general competence. Another one is organizing competencies into specific themes. Another one is establishing criteria for performance. Another one, creating learning experiences. Then assessing competency. Then finally, last but not least, evaluating the effectiveness of the curriculum. Having said this, and looking at our education system in Uganda, in practice, one remains the question whether these steps are always taken care of with the sincerity, honesty, and being realistic. Because it is very much known to us that some of the secondary schools, some of the primary schools, we are making all the general perspective. There are those, if as me, particularly with an education knowledge and experience in that profession, we were supposed to prepare lesson plans and so forth. But all that, leaving it aside and looking at the state of our economic transformation, why should we, much as there are some appreciation of achievements made, but our economic transformation is not yet to where we should be. And today we're interrogating, having all this in place required, what exactly should Uganda do to have an education system, competence-based, and which is of quality, that can take us from where our economy remains staggering and to a level where all of us will admire for this generation and generation to come. You're welcome once again, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tindiewa, and my colleague Paul. Thank you for your submissions. So, of course, when I was listening to you, or when I got invited here, two things that come to my mind that are driving what we are supposed to talk about: quality and the CBE model, or the competence-based education model.
Exactly.
All right? Now, let's take that a little bit slow, such that we ourselves will understand it, the viewers happen to also understand this. And it's not rocket science. I want us to, previously I told viewers, or I shared with viewers, that the education system we have currently is about 150 years old, right? 150 years old. But before that, one asks, what was there? And I think it is, I don't know if it's you or Paul, made a distinction between education and school. So there is a lot of confusion that we have as people trying to mix up things. We mix education and school. And now let me make a distinction for our viewers and ourselves. So school is when we attempt to go through the number of years that have been designed for us to go through some structures called school. And the evidence to that are the credentials you get: PLE, UCE, USCE, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD. Once you have all those things, it definitely shows that you went to school. But question is, where are you educated? Now that's a different story, because education is now something different. So you don't need to go through school for you to be educated. But you can also go through school and acquire education. Now what is education? Now education is deploying or using what you know to solve a problem, or you solve problems.
What you know to solve a problem. That's education.
That's education. Now, if you know something and then you use it to solve several problems, then we will say you are educated. You have changed people's lives.
Yeah.
If what you learned is not helping you to change people's lives, then you are not educated. So you went to school, thank God. You have even contributed to what I call academic inflation. So many credentials chasing too few jobs. In economics, that's now the other inflation.
For so many
credentials chasing the too few jobs that we have as a country. So that's academic inflation. So which we need to reduce. We just need to actually have more educated people changing society, changing people's lives, solve problems, not supporting academic inflation. Now, the challenge we have, coming back to the preamble you gave as I jumped into this conversation, the challenge we have right now is that we have, as a country, when you talk about quality, when you talk about CBE, competence-based education, we have prioritized the grades. We have prioritized school. We have not actually prioritized quality. And I'll tell you why. You will find schools around this country boasting about having how many first grades, boasting about having gotten how many A's, how many distinctions. But you ask yourself, can those graduates, those kids that have gone through the distinction, have gotten distinctions, have gotten A's, what can they do? The answer is always nothing. Right? So quality, zero.
Quality, zero.
Zero. In other words, we need to educate students in such a way that even if one dropped out in primary 7, they are able to prove to you that they can do something to be able to sustain their lives.
That's wonderful.
If they cannot do that, quality is what? Zero.
Exactly.
And now that's where the competence-based model comes in. And let me help to try to complement what my brother, my friend, Paul said. Let me, again, explain it to Ugandans. A competence education model is one that recognizes that a child has come to class but is not an empty vessel. They have come with prior experience. Maybe the experience may not be that one of the textbook, but they know something. They are not empty. They are not they're not an empty bank account that is on zero balance. No, these are human beings. They know something. Number 2, the competence model is going to emphasize knowledge skills, and abilities. And anyone who goes through it and demonstrates mastery of something then can progress from one level to another level. You have to demonstrate mastery. And there is one key feature that is important, and Ugandans should pay attention to it, is that there should be personalized learning, because these kids cannot progress at the same time, to master a concept at the same time. Some kids are so fast that in 3 minutes they will have mastered something, and some other kids learn differently. It may take them 3 hours, and other kids may take them 3 days, so they are going to progress differently. So the aspect of time is very, very important, so they cannot progress at the same time. That is competency-based. Now, if we are applying it that our kids are in primary 1 or senior 1, but all of them have to go to senior 2, then again there is something that is not true or complete competency-based education. Competency-based education recognizes one's abilities. Recognizes one's skills, recognizes one's knowledge. If you have mastered those 3 and you can produce something tangible to show that you have mastered what you're learning, then you progress. If you have not mastered yet, you'll be given more time to master it, and then you'll progress. That is competence-based education.
Prof, you are having that very well. Asked very well.
And if we can have it all the way I am describing it, an education that recognizes that Lawrence, Joseph, and Paul are 3 different people. Their passions are different, their natural abilities are different, their interests are different, and are going to approach things differently, and they are going to learn at a speed which is not the same, it is going to be different, and then you will assess us differently, our pace is going to be different, we will master things different, because that's real life. We are not robots that you program us to do things the same time, same day, same outcome. No. So that is competency-based. Once it is implemented as it is supposed to be, that is quality education.
I expect that you have written a paper on that.
100%.
And I don't know.
A book.
And I don't know whether you have submitted that document to the Minister of Education of this country.
The Honorable Minister, the First Lady, has a book, actually.
And did you have a talk like this?
Because we have had a conversation.
Dear viewers, the reason why I'm bringing this critical
But I'm happy to continue having
Thank you so much. The reason why I'm bringing this critical comment is that we'd like to bring the reality. We are not talking about the other side of the story as if like we are not Ugandans.
Correct.
And Doctor, you've touched me passionately in matters of how we can enhance this quality. And you are blessed that you've been able to interact with the stakeholders and the powers that be it, especially who can cause things change.
And they are passionate about it.
But I'm not. I don't want to take a position, but I'm certain something should be done better than that.
True.
Because the UPE itself, which has been here, we have advocated for this for some time, even the time when I was still in the civil service. Universal primary education is a good program, but why now is it an enemy of quality education you are talking about? It is an enemy. I want to say it and I want to get a solution. I'm not either maybe stirring up anybody against so and so. To say that there should be automatic promotion from the start, leave alone politics of what, of proposition, of criticizing so and so. And that model, whether it was recommended by World Bank, whosoever is the one who steered it, passionately I say it because I have an attachment with a quality education. What do you think is likely to happen with a new call? Should we think that there is going to be an amendment? And also by raising up my voice in this way, as we go through this discussion, something should be done if we are to achieve quality. You cannot say automatic promotion, whether you have not made it or not, go to primary 2, primary 3, primary 4, P7, to Maze, we've finished. Then again, we go for secondary education. Now we also again count numbers, how many have gone, then we finished. Kindly come in, because you touched me, that's why I cannot tell you.
Let me tell you. And I hope our colleagues, education policy practitioners are listening in, and education administrators are listening in from all walks of life, from all levels, until we stop this business of ranking students. And even why do we even have to talk about promotion? Promoting them to where? You know? So we should stop talking about teaching to promote people, but we should emphasize learning. So, and we should not rank people. And these people are going to progress according to their competencies. So when you look at other countries, there is nothing like you're going to rank people that this took a position in number 1, me, I took position number 2. No, it's not going to happen. But it is how much have you collected in terms of skills and competencies that you go to another level, another challenge of learning. We call it a challenge of learning. So you have been on a particular challenge, but now you feel like this one you have mastered it, and you undertake another challenge. So people keep moving and transitioning through the system until, without even these things we call examination, national exam. What is a national exam of a primary 7 child, or a national exam of a senior 4 child? So can we test these? Can we test competences? Can we test mastery? And this mastery comes with looking at, you know, CBE comes from the bigger body of knowledge we call authentic learning, which is authentic learning, which is real, it is where students are immersed in the real world, not just necessarily in a classroom, and are expected out of their learning to produce something tangible that they can share with their respective communities. That's authentic learning, all right? Something immersed in the real world.
Would you practically refer in real terms that kind of learning?
So that's what exactly. That's what I'm saying, that now a student is going to learn about something, and then they are going to go in a community and then try to solve a particular problem, and you assess them according to what problem they have solved vis-a-vis the content.
For instance, here we have a problem of poverty.
Correct.
And we have a problem of unemployment.
Correct.
So how can we transfer
now,
that
depending on which level of education you're looking at, you're not going to take a primary 1 child to go and solve poverty for you or solve unemployment. But if you're looking at CBE being applied in higher education, now you're going to look at problems around the country, and then start having these students research these problems and come up with tangible innovations that can take back, rewind these problems. In the process of dealing, if any innovation comes up, any creative venture comes up, then it creates a job for the incumbents, those people who are actually solving that problem, and the people they need to come and solve this problem. So it is practical learning, learning by doing, not this theoretical textbook learning. Textbooks can guide us because that's prior knowledge, all right? Because here is a mistake we do, Dr. Tindiewo.
Yes, sir.
We think that past events are going to predict the future. Economics, yes, we use that, time series data. But problems of the future are also going to come with different challenges. Now, that's why you see, I think it is Paul who talked about the problem of unemployment that we have previously, and I challenge my fellow professors all the time that if what we are doing is right, if the past knowledge we possess is working, why is it that we don't have a billionaire who is a professor? Where we cast
billionaire?
Yeah, in dollars. So look around the world. Forget about these honorary professors, right? But a billionaire in dollars, an academician in this world is not there. You are going to look for them, and if they told you that the only treatment you have that is going to cure you of any condition is to bring a billionaire who is a professor academically, chances are that you may die. So why? Are we cursed? No, because for us we are concentrating on things that are historical and are not going, and we take less time to confront the future, new challenges that can actually solve the problems that are to come. Now, leaving people who get pissed, disgusted with this system that cripples their creativity, cripples their passion, and they exit it, and then actually they own the entire Kampala as we know it. There is a book which I'm going to recommend that the viewers go look for it, and as here, it asks a question, like, the title is a question, why A students work for C students and B students work for government, right? Why A students? You talked about the brilliant people end up working for C students. Yep. Those who got disgusted of the system, they used to get C's or what, but ended up successfully in setting up businesses, solving society's problems. They employ almost 50,000 people or even 20,000 people, and because they know they can't handle this thing, they hire A students. But now the average people end up going to government. You know, so that's the dilemma of education. And the CBE model, if well implemented, I don't want to believe that education, UPE is an enemy. No. When you have a child that is not doing things the way you think.
What I said, the policy therein,
yes,
which doesn't grant space or honor,
yes,
you know, the need to embrace
this. But that's why mistakes are like you can have a good policy. Yes. Paul will tell you, all of you are policy practitioners, you understand this. You can have a policy, but then you can also make one error when it comes to implementation, and it will never flourish or live to deliver the expected results of that policy. So that's where we are with UPE as well. It is very, very good to have access to education. That is not even debatable.
Access,
right?
I add in access kindly, yes, access to quality education.
I agree with you. Yeah. Everyone wants a quality education. But it is also a journey. We have to, a journey of 10,000, I think the Chinese say that, like the journey of 10,000 miles, you begin with one what? One step. It's a journey. UPE, USE are a journey. But there's one credit I give those two programs is that you open up access to education. Now, we have now another discussion. What about quality? How can it make it work? And that's where concerted efforts have to come in. The Ministry of Education. Government needs to, it's Paul who always says that they have to step forward and be accountable and take action and make it work. The CBE policy, CBE initiative, it has to work in its entirety, not half-baked. When we say CBE, I gave you the features, the attributes. If we implement it as it is supposed to be implemented, we will have the best education system this country has ever had.
Thank you so much for your honest and vital contribution. But the question is not yet resolved. And as we are going to go for a break, we remain indebted as a country, and per these estimated statistics, that out of 100% of both primary and secondary based government-aided schools, 70% has declined terribly. Those which used to be sound schools. 30% are those which are struggling to rise up. And then 70%, the other 70% has much more of the populace, has much more cherished the private schools. And as a country, it is the role of the state to deliver quality and equity education, as we talked about the other time, to fight against apartheid. It is a challenge. The number two, as we go for the break, I will start with you, Mr. Paul. We realize that what you ushered us in through the discussion relating to how a child, start as far as from primary one. Primary one initially, that child is of age 8, age 6, right? Age 6. And in our comparative review, when you learn a lot that has happened in China, Israel, especially the fact China and Israel for only two reasons. Israel, when you are at 6 already, you know that the philosophy, the education, number one, military education. A child, I believe you are aware, Prof. A child at 6 years, you know that for us, we will have to defend our country. It's a problem.
True.
And I'm comparing with your
patriotism.
Yes, they grow knowing it.
Yes.
They know that our problem is anyone against Israel is an enemy.
Now,
so why not also the same applies to us? Now our enemy is poverty.
Now you're talking. We lack, and Ugandans, you'll excuse me, we lack that aspect of all of us being patriotic. That's why I was telling you the other time that there is nothing like government. Government is people.
But
they become patriotic and they get tired of seeing other people's children not getting where they're supposed to get, and we do the right thing. We love our country. We love everyone in this country.
Doctor, thank you.
Then we'll become great patriots.
Doctor, thank you. But that patriotism, there is a leading force. And that leading force, I call it government, must have, and I do urge you, wherever you are, must have the willingness and the vibe to make things happen. Look at China. At age 6, they are being trained. They know that for them, what they want to do, they want to grow as a mighty economy, grow big economy. They don't want to know other many things. The education, senior 1, P7, all that is secondary. From age 6, a child knows that I need now to have maybe some skill to do these, maybe these are jewels. I will also have something final at the family level. We're talking about it when we're with Professor Nwagaba to create a family unit for production. And they are to address the problem and the target of the country to be a mighty economy. Why Uganda have we not taken this?
When you invest with Britain's unit